from the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
Welcome back. It's just about 6:30. Good morning. I'm Devin, Fehely.
And I'm Julie Watts. And this weekend could bring some of the roughest surf we've seen in the past 2 years. Tomorrow, waves along the Northern California coast could reach 40 feet. But the really big stuff comes in Sunday night into Monday.
At this time, we're being told that these waves are going to be large enough to reach our seawalls at Ocean Beach.
A high surf warning is in effect, and officials are urging beachgoers to stay away from the beach. Don't even go near the water, and not just the water, but stay off the sand as well. Mavericks could pick up as early as Tuesday, but they are postponing it Monday due to these waves, these dangerous conditions. High surf advisory in effect Sunday morning through Monday. This is, again, the highest surf since January 2017. We're talking swells 17 to 21 feet with breakers 40 feet plus. That means not only is it dangerous in the water, but these breakers could cover the sand. So officials are saying you want to stay on the sidewalk, stay off the beach itself, and even on the sidewalk, never turn your back to the ocean. A look at high-def Doppler shows the showers we've seen over the last 24 hours or so beginning to taper off. Still seeing a few lingering showers up north. Those will taper off, though, after sunrise and later on this morning. Futurecast showing the next round of rain moving in Sunday morning. Here we are at 7 a.m. You can see the North Bay getting the heaviest rain. It slowly spreads south throughout the day. Here we are around 3 p.m. where we're seeing it in San Francisco, portions of the East Bay, starting to see it in the peninsula, and then it sinks south throughout the latter half of Sunday on into Monday morning. Everybody will get a dose of that rain before it passes on through. Maybe a few lingering showers for the Monday morning commute. In terms of storm intensity, this is a moderate storm when it comes to rain and wind and flooding. We're not that concerned about the rain itself. It is the surf that we are focused on. And again, folks being urged to stay away from the beach, off the sand. Spotty showers overnight through sunrise today. Then surf builds Saturday, peaking Sunday. Soaking rains likely Sunday evening and overnight.
The crowds are not as large as they have been, but the so-called yellow vest protesters have taken to the streets again this weekend in France. Here is the scene today in Paris. The yellow vest movement opposes several policies by French President Emmanuel Macron, which they believe favor the wealthy. On Monday, Macron pledged to increase his country's minimum wage and scrap new pension taxes. Tense moments at a Concord gas station, all caught on video. A woman walks in wearing a hoodie and a mask. She whips out a kitchen knife and points it at the cashier and demands cash.
Your cash.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
He opens the register. She tosses the knife on top and starts stuffing money into her bag. That could have been the cashier's chance to grab the weapon. He says the thought did cross his mind.
I was thinking whether to take it or not. And it's not right now because I wasn't sure if somebody's behind her. How many people there?
Open the safe.
I'm only working.
Open the safe.
My boss. You want to call my boss?
Open the safe.
I can't do it.
Open the safe.
I can't do it.
Open the safe.
After she emptied out the register, she wanted more. The robbery happened about 2 weeks ago at the Rain and Shine car wash and gas station in Concord. Detectives say right now this is the city's only robbery case involving a female suspect. You can't clearly see her face, but they think that people who know her should be able to recognize her voice.
Well, a change is coming to some Bay Area phone numbers starting today. 341 will be an added area code in the region that currently uses 510. East Bay residents will be required to press 1 before making phone calls with either area code starting at the end of June.
Pre-existing defects and holes cut into the steel are now to blame for 2 cracked beams at the brand new Transbay Transit Center in San Francisco. The beams cracked in September, just 6 weeks after the $2 billion facility opened to the public. Samples of the steel were sent to a lab for testing. The tests show that flaws in the steel developed during fabrication. Those flaws got worse as the steel was reheated during construction. There is still no estimate for when repairs will finish up and the center can reopen.
Well, if you're planning to visit the DMV, now's a good time. That's because the agency finally managed to get those wait times down. The DMV is reporting a 65% reduction in wait times, with the average wait dropping from more than 2 hours to 46 minutes this month. You may remember wait times at California DMVs exploded earlier this year after the agency started issuing real IDs. And California is going all in on electric buses with a new statewide mandate. A vote yesterday by the Air Resources Board requires that all new buses have zero emissions by the year 2029. That covers a fleet of about 14,000 buses. Fully electric buses are more expensive than diesel or natural gas, but cheaper to maintain. Advocates say the purchase price may drop as demand grows.
California's Chief Justice is turning her back on the Republican Party, and she says it's because of the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. The Chief Justice has dropped her GOP registration and selected no party preference instead. She made that decision after watching Senate hearings for Brett Kavanaugh. He faced accusations of sexual misconduct before being confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court. California's top justice says, quote, "I was greatly disturbed by the hearing itself and the process."
Well, congressional Democrats are demanding a full accounting after the death of a 7-year-old immigrant girl from Guatemala while in custody of U.S. Border Patrol. Jacqueline Kahl had been traveling with her father and a large group of migrants when border agents took them into custody near the New Mexico border last week. The girl had a fever and started vomiting on a bus heading to a Border Patrol station. Agents were able to revive her twice. She was airlifted to a hospital in El Paso, but later died.
What happened here was they were about 90 miles away from where we could process them. They came in such a large crowd that it took our Border Patrol folks a couple times to get them all.
Now, President Trump has been trying to stop a caravan of Central American migrants from reaching the U.S. He has threatened a government shutdown if Congress refuses to fund a border wall.
A college student from Minnesota is dead after a stabbing in the Netherlands, and her Dutch roommate is under arrest. 21-year-old Sarah Pappenheim was found dead yesterday. On Wednesday, officers had gone to her apartment after neighbors heard arguing and screaming. Now her roommate is the prime suspect. Police caught up with him as he tried to board a train. Back in Minnesota, Pappenheim's mother says there were signs of trouble with that roommate.
He'd have highs and lows, and she noticed that, and we had talked, and I told her she needed to get out of there because something ain't right.
Pappenheim, an accomplished blues drummer, had been studying psychology at the University of Rotterdam. She chose that major with a focus on suicide after her brother took his own life 3 years ago.
Well, a live look now at SFO as we tell you the TSA is reporting an alarming statistic on guns at airports. The agency says it found more than 4,000 firearms in carry-on bags this year. That's up from last year. 80% of those guns were loaded. Atlanta topped the list for confiscated weapons. Dallas-Fort Worth was a close second. The TSA plans to roll out new CT scanners to help spot guns easier.
A robbery attempt thwarted at a jewelry store in South Pasadena.
And we do have security video that captured 2 men walking into a store as they go up to the counter where there's a collection of high-end watches. After a few minutes of browsing, the man in the red baseball cap pulls out a switchblade from his pocket. The store owner says he demanded to have the Rolex watches.
He actually lunged at me, and I blocked him, and then I grabbed his hand, and I tried to shuffle with him a little bit, and then my nephew there pulled out the gun. And he was able to, fend him off. Otherwise, I think I would have been hurt really bad.
The owner says if it wasn't for his nephew, he might have been dead. New photos of Mars are coming in, and this one stitched together from 11 images. NASA's InSight lander just touched down on the surface after 6 months in flight, but before it did anything else, it had to take a selfie. Although it doesn't have a selfie stick, it just has a robotic arm. The InSight lander will soon set up shop using scientific instruments to measure the conditions both above and below the surface.
2018 has been a busy year for the royal family.
That's right. With the year coming to a close, they're spreading some holiday cheer with the release of their annual Christmas cards. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge shows this relaxed family photo. You can see baby Louis in his mother's lap, 3-year-old Charlotte in the middle, and 5-year-old George showing off his playful side. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex picked this striking black and white photo taken on their wedding night back in May. You can see the couple watching fireworks during their reception at Windsor Castle.
Today is the deadline to turn in paperwork for people who want health insurance through Covered California to kick in by New Year's Day. Now, meanwhile, a federal judge in Texas has ruled the Affordable Care Act unconstitutional. The opinion by U.S. Judge Reed O'Connor overturns the entire ACA, or Obamacare, potentially threatening it nationwide. The main issue is yesterday's ruling is the mandate that penalizes people who don't purchase health insurance. The mandate was dropped in the Republicans' 2017 tax law, and Judge O'Connor determined that the rest of the law cannot stand without it. President Trump, a longtime opponent of the Affordable Care Act, posted this on Twitter. Wow, but not surprisingly, Obamacare was just ruled unconstitutional by a highly respected judge in Texas. Great news for America. Democratic House Leader Nancy Pelosi posted this comment. The absurd ruling exposes the monstrous endgame of the GOP's all-out assault on people with pre-existing conditions and the ACA. When House Democrats take the gavel, the House will swiftly intervene in the appeals process to protect our care. Then there is this statement from California's Attorney General Xavier Becerra. Today's misguided ruling will not deter us. Our coalition will continue to fight in court for the health and well-being of all Americans. Our political reporter Melissa Kane says the case will likely be settled by the U.S. Supreme Court. And until then, people enrolled in the ACA should not be worried about their health coverage.
In a new investigation, state regulators are accusing PG&E of falsifying safety records in the years following that deadly San Bruno pipeline explosion. Specifically, the PUC says PG&E failed to locate and mark natural gas pipelines, and they allege the utility made changes to forms so the work would not appear to be late. In September 2010, a natural gas pipeline exploded in San Bruno, killing 8 people and destroying 38 homes there. Jim Rain, the city's mayor at the time, says PG&E needs to understand this is about more than a ledger sheet.
This is not just about metrics and rates, and it's about people died because of their lack of care.
PG&E released a statement that reads in part, "Our most important responsibility is public and employee safety. We are committed to accurate and thorough reporting and record keeping, and we didn't live up to that commitment in this case." You can read PG&E's entire statement on our website, KPIX.com.
The California Highway Patrol is looking for a shooter who opened fire on an Alameda County freeway during the afternoon commute. It happened just before 5 o'clock yesterday on northbound 680 in Pleasanton. A driver was hit and wounded, but was able to pull over safely and call the police. He is expected to be okay. Now, so far, there is no description of the suspect or a motive in that case. Crews will continue repairs this weekend on a busted water main in Union City. A PG&E crew ruptured the line near Union City Boulevard and Smith Street Thursday while repairing a nearby gas main. People who live nearby may see some discoloration or sediment in their water while that water main is being repaired. But the Alameda County Water District says the water is safe to drink.
Well, business is booming at the Port of Oakland. It just had its busiest November ever. And not just despite of all the trade tensions with China, in part because of them. Imports last month on the Oakland waterfront were up 15% from a year earlier. And the peak season from August through October also set a new record. The port points to strong consumer spending and a rush to get cargo into the U.S. in case new tariffs are imposed next year.
All right, the San Francisco Police Department is bringing new meaning to the term beat cops.
Happy holidays from SFPD.
Check.
All right, you gotta love the dogs, though. Come on. The minute-long video features a music track and an action sequence of motorcycle officers cruising around town. But this holiday greeting also includes a serious message, calling on drivers to slow down and stay sober this season. And that message is spreading fast. The video had 5,000 views within 6 hours of being posted.
This just in from Washington, D.C. President Trump says Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke will resign effective the end of the year. Zinke, a former Republican congressman from Montana, faces federal investigations into his travel, political activity, and potential conflicts of interest. A replacement is expected to be announced next week. It is time for us to call it a morning. Thank you for watching KPIX News this morning.
We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock with Melissa Kane. Enjoy your Saturday.